Welcome to the RVA Affiliate Collective podcast, where we share stories around the business of fitness and other things going on in the local RVA fitness community. Be sure to check out our collective shop at rvaaffiliatecollective.org and give us a follow on Instagram at RVA Affiliate Collective. Enjoy the show. So welcome to the Collective podcast.
Thank you very much.
My name is Joe Ellis. I'm here by the lovely Ana of Rio Fitness. No, you're fine. I gotten the pleasure to know you over the last few weeks and took a class and even got myself sweating and feeling pretty tired afterwards. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and kind of go over a little bit about your story and what you're trying to do here in Richmond. So we're here off Staples Mill in lovely Henrico. And just wanted, for those who don't know, who are you and what do you do?
Sure. My name is Ana Bailoni. I own and operate Rio Fitness. We are a strength training gym. We work with group classes. We bring functional training. Basically what you would get with a personal trainer, we bring to a small group setting.
That's awesome. So where did you get the idea for Rio?
Well,
way back.
Rio started in my dad's garage, actually. And back then we were called Simply Live Studio. Before that, I was working as a personal trainer in a commercial gym. And I just saw some limitations in how I wanted to train my clients. I just had some ideas that I really wanted to serve my clients in a different way, and I, just couldn't in a box gym setting. So I decided to venture out on my own. I had this vision of a gym where fitness, nutrition, and some sort of what in my mind at the time was psychological counseling came together, because I saw that a big hindrance in people getting the results they wanted had nothing to do with the fitness program or the nutrition program. It's basically getting people out of their own way. So how could I blend that together? Nowadays, we think of that more as like the mindset training. So that's where I got the idea from, is just that need of, okay, I need to be able to serve my clients better than just bringing them in and doing 2 workouts a week and then not, that's the only thing that I can do for them. I need to be able to provide more.
Awesome. So you formulated the idea. You started out in a garage gym, and how did you end up here at this lovely storefront location with all the rigs and equipment around us right now?
Sure. So I started, like I said, in my dad's garage. It was basically, I had this idea one night that was literally, I woke up and I was like, you know what? I have a garage that I could use. And I went to my dad. I said, Dad, how attached are you to that garage? And he said, not at all. He helped me build a gym there. We started off with equipment that I bought from Craigslist. And started with literally 3 clients. And then back then I was doing mostly one-on-one training. And then I shifted into the group training. It was a garage, so I didn't have much room. I had room to see up to 4 clients at a time. But, one happy client brought another. In about 2.5 years, we grew from 3 to 40 clients. Again, all in my dad's garage. That's what I realized.
The guy gave up his garage. That's rare for us men.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I could not have done this without my family's support.
Did you find yourself working around oil pans and toolboxes, or did he actually give you the entire garage?
He legit just gave me the whole garage.
Wow.
It looked like a little gym.
That's awesome.
One friend even asked, is this a franchise? Because I painted the walls. I had rubber floors. I had a logo. Back then we were called Simply Live Studio. Because I had this idea of fitness needs to be simplified for people. It needs to be simple. So we had, Simply Live. And then once we grew to about 40 clients, and back then it was maybe 95% women, 5% men. And I saw that we didn't have to be just, a female-centered gym. So I wanted to be a little bit more gender neutral. And I found this location here on Staples Mill. It's a fantastic location. We're just 10 minutes away from downtown, 10 minutes away from the West End. Right, you can see our logo right from Staples Mill. And that's when I decided to rebrand as Rio Fitness and move to a commercial facility. And I wanted to keep the same feel. One of the things that my clients really enjoyed was that sort of family feel of the gym. You know, they knew everybody. It was a small group. They felt comfortable. They knew they could trust me. They could make their mistakes and not know things, and they would be okay. And so I wanted to bring that same sort of comfortable family feel to where we were. And so I had this idea of like, how could I take what I have, this, 15 by 12, I guess it was 15 by 12 space where I see 4 people at a time. How could I quadruple that so I can see 8 people at a time? And so that's how I kind of organized this space and found this perfect place for to have the space for what I wanted to do.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm guilty of this from outside looking in. As a CrossFitter, it looks like CrossFit, and I know you've worked hard to distinguish yourself from it, but you're not opposed to what you've learned from your time when you were doing CrossFit back in the day. What do you tell people when they come in, they see the rigs and they see the rowers and they see the bikes? It can be intimidating, right? And that's one of the things with CrossFit is trying to remove that stigma.
Right.
Obviously not putting it on your building. The name is a good start, right? If you want to attract that type of audience. But what have you done specifically to help show people that, strength training and all those things are important regardless of age and gender?
Yes. Well, I think the best way is just bringing people into the door, because when they don't know, what they don't know scares them, right? So I have so many women coming in here and they say, oh yes, I want to lose weight. So I point them to a heavy barbell on the floor and they say, no, Ana, I want to lose weight. You don't understand. So they don't quite have that connection between strength training and their health and fitness goals. So the best thing to do is bringing them in here, and I explain everything to them, and I have them know. I let them know it's okay for you not to know. I'll teach you everything from A to Z. I teach you from, hey, this is called a J-hook, this is a barbell, and this is called a kettlebell, from the basics. I never assume that people know the things that they might not know, because I was once a beginner. I started pretty late in life, in my mid-20s, with strength training, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know what a proper squat was, and I had somebody teach me that, so I know exactly what that feels like. So right from the start, I never assume that people know. And I just really make sure that people understand that, hey, you don't need to know everything. I'm here to show you. And I continue that education. I think that face-to-face, that time spent here. I have an intro offer where people can train with me for 4 weeks for only $99. It's no commitment, because that is when those paradigms are broken, when those barriers are broken. And I do have people coming in and, trying to, what's the difference between you and CrossFit? And fundamentally, the movements are kind of the same, right? It's all squats, deadlifts, push-ups, pull-ups, and, carries, core work, and all the variations of those. The main difference is we don't do as much Olympic lifts, and we don't use barbells for conditioning. So our conditioning is more focused on using the cardio equipment, body weight exercises, rather than using the heavy compound lifts in high volume or in a fast pace.
Gotcha. So if you had squats in a conditioning aspect, or what we call in CrossFit the Metcon, right?
Yeah.
You would opt for dumbbell or body weight or kettlebell versus trying to load them up with weight on their back, or say cleaning off the floor is probably something not going to happen, like 21, 15, 9 for time type stuff, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to do that in a controlled environment and then give them other implements for the conditioning to kind of reduce that barrier and sometimes risk, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on experience level, it can be a risk too.
Yes. And it's like you said, I myself trained CrossFit for about 3 years on and off, and I absolutely loved it. It pushed me to that next level that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to go into.
The pain cave, as we call it.
The pain cave. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I miss it. And as much as I saw, all the benefits, I also saw some limitations, just like with everything else.
Sure.
CrossFit is a sport. It's a modality, right? Just like with bodybuilding, I did some of that for a while, for several years. That was my main way of training. I learned so much from that and also saw some limitations. So what I bring from everything that I try, everything that I experiment myself with my own fitness, and also and professionally also I explore in order to see what I can bring my clients, is how can I make fitness more accessible to more people? How can I make this less intimidating? That's not even the word. That's not the right way to express it. But how can I make people more confident in trying this? Because it's not, I don't like that idea that people are intimidated by the barbell. I don't think they are. I think they're intimidated by what they don't know.
Sure.
So what can I do? What can I bring from this to make my clients fitter, to make them healthier, to make them move better, right? Because most people, most of the people who work with me, they're not trying to compete in any sports. They're not trying to, they're not trying to beat anyone. They're just trying to be better, fitter version of themselves. A lot of them have weight loss goals. So I keep that in mind. Does this person need to do 100 cleans to achieve their goals? Probably not. I could probably achieve that same goal with something a little bit safer or a little bit more accessible to them right now. So that's what I try to do when I, see different ways, different styles of training. Say, well, what can I learn from this that'll, bring more to my clients?
Definitely. And that's some of the biggest mistakes I would say on the CrossFit side is the experience level and the always wanting to push the envelope is not necessarily a foundational thing. It's more of people who've affiliated and taken it further than maybe where it was originally intended, or faster for some people than it should have been. Whereas if you look at the early days of the CrossFit Journal articles, it's all about foundational movements and only adding load when, applicable to that person. And even starting out in your garage with one-on-one clients, the same way you kind of got started, that's exactly how, Greg Glassman says to get started is 1-on-1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3. Okay, now you need more space, and then you open up kind of thing. You scale as needed, just like in the workouts, as well for your business.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, got a couple other questions here for you. So you opened up, you got a good client base. Now everything's kind of moving. The lights are on, right? You're still open today. So that's a good sign. What sort of things surprised you or you didn't expect in the opening process? Not necessarily in the garage, but making the leap from this is a thing I want to do to this is the thing I'm doing, right? That it's not only did your address change and did you have a business license, but it's also a mental shift of I am this person, I am opening up a gym and small business owner in Richmond.
It was a huge mental shift. It was new level, new devil.
Yeah, nice.
It definitely changed the game from moving to the garage to a commercial facility. And I felt that and I buckled for the first year until I, found my footing again. Okay, this is the game. These are my new challenges. So to answer your questions, what was most surprising? It was August 2017, July and August 2017 that we opened here, and those were the best, worst months of my life.
The August slump. You opened up in the slump of fitness. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It actually was perfect. It was actually perfect because then right in September we had that big bump,
everyone goes back to school and get back in their routines. Yeah.
It was perfect. It was August 14th, 2017. But what surprised me, and I guess it shouldn't have, but I feel like every decision I made had a bump. I hit a bump with everything from the colors of the wall to the time when the UPS guy came to unload. So this is a story. I ordered, $20,000 worth of equipment from Rogue. And it came all together. I had, assault bikes and rowers and dumbbells galore and
all
plates.
At once. You didn't stagger it in. Just give me everything.
Once. It was just it was the funnest thing I've ever done to be
like
that
Legos.
one big, it was that one bit, that click, like I just made this huge purchase.
Yeah.
So then, the equipment was scheduled to arrive it was a Friday. It was supposed to be Friday at noon. And I had set up with my dad, my brother, my husband, who was then my boyfriend. He, helped me unload this truck. And I had no idea what to expect. Okay. Joe, I'm a business owner because I opened a business. I'm not a business owner by experience or training. So there were some things that just I didn't think about, right? So I was like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll unload the truck. When I was sitting at home having lunch, and I received a call from the UPS guy, and he says, "Hey, this is the UPS guy. I'm here with your order, with your delivery, and there's no one here." And I'm like, "Oh, but you're not supposed to be there for another 2 hours." It's like, "Yeah, but I'm here early. You need to come unload the truck."
Yeah.
I was like, and no one.
It's a business, right? They assume someone's here.
Yeah. And, you schedule it. It was a scheduled time, but they're like, "Oh, well, I'm here."
Yeah.
And the only person available to help me was my mom.
Oh, wow.
And it was me and my mother. There was this freight truck. It's huge. I looked at him. I was like, "So how much of that truck is my stuff?" He goes, "All of it." It was a huge truck. I have pictures of it.
Nice.
And my mother and I unloaded everything. And this guy was like, you two are going to do it by yourselves. And he couldn't, legally they're not supposed to help us. So
Right.
he couldn't help us at all. The most he could do was just put it as close to the door as he can in the palace. And my mother and I, for an hour, we unloaded that truck. We did, it was the hardest workout I've ever done. We unloaded plate by plate, dumbbell by dumbbell, the salt bikes, just for an hour, just in and out of the truck. So small things like that you think oh yeah, sure, they're going to deliver the equipment.
Yeah, they're going to wheel it over for you and put it in your business.
Yes. So little things like that, just everything I felt like I hit a bump, and everything was a little bit more difficult than I thought, mainly because of lack of experience.
Well, nothing's going to go perfect, right?
Well, you kind of hope, but
right.
No, but
you visualize it, but then it.
Yes, and then when it actually happens, it was just very everything had to. Everything had a little bump. Everything had a little obstacle in the way. But, your dreams come true in reality. And that was a big wake-up call for me when I was like, okay, this is a thing and it's hard. And there are things that I didn't think about it. And it was just a lot more detailed than, I bargained for.
Wow. No, that's a great story. Man, I can't imagine that one.
Yeah.
Testing relationships, huh? So your boyfriend, his test was to set up the rig.
He showed
your mom's
me he
test was can she unload the truck? And your test was do you want to get up tomorrow and actually face what you've done? Essentially, you ordered $20,000 worth of stuff. It's arrived, and you got to hit the pavement running. Essentially, that's scary.
It was, but it was incredibly exciting.
Oh, sure,
It was so exciting. I feel like every night I either slept like a rock because I was exhausted, or I could barely sleep because I was so excited or anxious about the next steps, the next days. And all the while, I was still training my clients in the garage.
In the garage, really?
Yeah. So there was no lag time. It was just okay, starting Monday, your workouts are going to be on Staples Mill.
Looking back, you probably would have had your class time at the time it was delivered, right? Yes, and then just had them all assembly line it into the building.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then after that same weekend, I had, an event here. I invited my members to come out and help unload everything and open up the boxes. So that was a lot of fun.
So you don't think about it until you, even with my garage gym, you order this stuff and you're like, oh yeah, it'll just show up. And then you see the poor UPS guy carrying it or the FedEx guy. And he's like, he's doing a workout just getting your stuff there so you can work out. And then you go to unbox and you're like, man, every plate is really 45 pounds. It doesn't really click until it arrives. And you're like, oh yeah, this is heavy stuff because that's what it's for.
It was literally, and I got the invoice paper when he came, with everything. It was literally tons.
Yeah,
like
packing
literally
slip,
tons.
right? Yeah,
And
tons.
because it tells you how much the load weighs, the truckload weighs.
Yeah.
And it was literally, I can't remember how many tons, but it was tons of stuff.
That would have
Like,
been a fun number to have.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I was like, and I bragged about it all weekend. Oh, I just lifted this many,
2
many
tons.
tons of equipment.
Tell me about that
over the
1 ton
weekend.
challenge now. That's awesome. So what are some common misconceptions about what you do? Like, to the average person, you might say, yeah, I own a gym or I'm a trainer, and they're going to say, oh, you must X or you must feel something, right? And it's like, no, that's not it at all. Or yeah, what are some of those things?
The number one misconception of people when they find out I'm a trainer or I own a gym, they think I work out all day.
You don't?
They think that I must be the fittest person in the world because I work out all day, and they don't understand that it is a struggle to get my workouts in if I don't make the time and I'm not intentional. And it can be even, I feel like there were times before I was a trainer that I was more excited about my workouts than now that I'm a trainer and I'm a business owner. Sometimes I'm just like regular people. I gotta get a buddy to work out with me, or I gotta have a challenge to push me. And so that's the biggest misconception. People just think that I love working out all the time.
You do it for a living. Of course you love it.
and that I'm working out every day, all day. But that's not quite true.
I like to compare it to, we all know that local auto mechanic that drives the car that barely runs. It always looks like it's on its last leg. And you're like, he's a mechanic. You would think of all people, he would drive the car that's always scheduled on time, always getting the maintenance when it needs. But he's spending all day doing that for other people.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing when it comes to owning a gym is we'll make the mistake of thinking, I love coaching so much. I love working out so much. I'm going to open a gym because that seems like that marries the two together. When in reality, it can make it more difficult. And a lot of times people have less time to work out because they're putting everyone's needs in front of their own, right?
Mm-hmm. And running a business takes a long time. People think like, oh, well, what are you doing between classes?
Yeah, you don't just lock up and go home. You lock up and go home and maybe work on Instagram posts, or maybe you work on some sort of back-end accounting, or you're dealing with some, order from a graphic designer and you're having to go back and forth with them. And
and communicating with clients and communicating with leads and all of that. Every single one of those things that you just mentioned is a part-time job in and of itself. So there's a lot going on. So if you're not intentional about it, your own fitness can, you can backslide because, I'm a human before I'm a trainer, and self-care is something that humans have to be intentional about, right? Eating well and exercising. Thankfully, it's something that I've built into my routine in the past 10, 15 years. But so it's easier for me than someone who's just starting out, of course. However, it is still, something that you have to be intentional about.
Would you say, because you got started in your fitness journey later in life than some people who maybe are like collegiate athletes or high school athletes, and then also owning your own business, do you identify with your members when they say, I just don't have the time? Like, do you feel like you can connect with them a little bit?
Absolutely. It used to be a point of insecurity for me when I first started out as a trainer, because a lot of my colleagues had so many years of experience. They were so much, fitter than me, and they just seemed more comfortable in the role of a trainer. And then I realized that it was actually a point of strength because some of them lacked what I have, which is, hey, I know exactly what it feels like to be sedentary for most of your life, and then completely start a new fitness routine. And for me, what did it was weight that I gained really fast. I was in my mid-20s and I gained like 15 pounds in 6 months with a new job that I started, and, just stress eating. And so I did what anybody who wants to lose weight does, right? You start running and doing spin classes.
That's right.
So one thing led to another, and I got into strength training and eating well, and just my body just changed. More than my body, my mind changed. I just realized, like, I just turned myself into a runner when I was never before. What else can I make myself? What else can I allow myself to be? So that, I feel, qualifies me to lead people. Qualifies me to train people, because I know exactly how they feel. I know exactly the difficulties. I know that it can be really intimidating when you come in and you don't know the name of the equipment, and you're looking around, and you don't quite understand how is strength training going to help me lose weight? I can understand that, how that lack of knowledge can demotivate people, and keep people from doing what is best for them. So what used to be a point of insecurity for me is actually what I think one of my biggest strengths as a trainer.
Yeah, I would say so. Being able to meet people where they're at and identify with them is huge. And we all know that personal trainer at the Globo gym down the street that, walks in with the shirt that's way too tight. And you're like, this guy has never been overweight. And maybe he has, right? You don't know their story, but like that first impression is like, he doesn't get me. He doesn't understand why it's so hard for me, because obviously it's not for him. And that's a misconception on both sides, of course. And
the best trainers are not the ones who understand the physiology and the training mechanics. The best trainers are the people who care, or the people who are willing to connect. That's what makes the best trainer. Of course, you have to have knowledge, but knowledge you can get. Yeah. Everything is trainable.
Relationship
you can learn.
Business.
It's a relationship business. If you're not in it for the people, for to connect with people and really empathize with them and know when to push and when to back off, and then it's going to be a tough road. It's going to be a tough career if you're not in it for that.
I want to go back to what you mentioned. You said, I am a runner, which is interesting because there's a time in your life when you were saying you were trying to get into it, trying to lose weight, that you're probably telling yourself, I'm going to go and run, or I try to run, or I like to run. And there's a huge mindset shift from I'm someone who runs to I am a runner. And sometimes that can be the difference between consistency, results, you name it.
Yes.
Do you have any approach, or have you thought about that when it comes to members, when they come in here and say, I'm just trying to get to class, I'm just someone who works out, versus I am that person, they make that realization in their mind, and it doesn't mean that they're any more fitter the next day, but it's the way they approach every other part of their life, because I am a runner and it's sprinkling outside, I'll go run in the rain. Yeah. Because I am that person. I am the person who does those things. Have you found that there's power in that kind of identification?
Absolutely. And the one thing, I can't give that to anybody. The one thing that can help people with that mind shift, that paradigm shift, is experience, right? We all have these deep beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about what we can do, what we can't do, what's possible, what's impossible. And none of that is true or untrue. It's just our beliefs, and it drives how we think and what we do. And what created those beliefs in the first place is experience, right? Something happened that made us come to those conclusions, and then it got reinforced.
Whether good or bad. Could be negative, right? I'm not a runner. I'm not someone who runs, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Whether good or bad, whatever our beliefs are, something about our experiences or what we were told created that. So how can you create new beliefs? Allowing yourself to have new experiences. And that's the number one thing I tell people. I hear it all the time. People say, I can't do that. I have no upper body strength. I don't have this, or I can't do that.
I'm just overweight. It runs in my family.
Exactly. Yep. And just, what I can do in the moment is say, you're not trying, you're actually doing it. There's a big difference.
Yeah, you are this person.
You are doing, I'm trying to do this. No, you're doing it. That's great. That's exactly what, you're on the path to getting your pull-up. That's the one thing people love.
Oh, yeah.
Training for a pull-up. And training for a pull-up looks nothing like a pull-up, right? It feels really awkward. It's real struggling.
It doesn't feel like it's going to get you there either. You're like, there's no way that just doing this boring thing will do this cool thing. And that's the hardest thing. Even with my daughter, she's 12, and she's trying to get her first push-up, because in school they're doing push-up tests and stuff, and she can't get one. Yeah, she can't get one, and I was homeschooled, so I don't identify with any of that. But I was showing her some things she can do, and it immediately became not interesting because it wasn't a push-up. It wasn't just something she could hear once and then do. She realized that she would have to put in time and effort, and it's humbling now with her because not only am I dealing with someone who can't do a push-up yet, but I'm also trying to understand how to meet her where she is,
Yes.
which is way different than meeting an adult where they are. Because an
Yes.
adult can typically, they can at least logically understand
You'd be
a growth
surprised.
progression. A 12-year-old, sometimes they're like, no, this
Yeah.
is boring. Like they can't, maybe some can. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
some that can, but with her, specifically, it's
Yeah.
been a struggle, but she sees me in the garage every day. And so hopefully that's just going to slowly infect her mind,
Don't doubt it for a second. That's the thing. The seeds that we plant are collected or harvested way later, so don't doubt it for a second. And those are the things that create the belief systems,
hopefully.
And what we saw as kids as well, and so what I can do in the moment is just, help people shift with a statement like, you actually are doing it. And instead of thinking, I wasn't able to do the fourth set. Oh, but you did 3 really well.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that. Just using that kind of language.
Yep.
When people talk about I can't, I say, hey, how about this? You're training for it. It's not that you can't.
Yeah.
So I offer those insights as we're training. But the one thing that will have people shift from that I'm going to go work out then to I'm an athlete. I am someone who is fit. I am fit. I take care of myself. It's giving them that experience. And that's why I absolutely love getting people in here, not for one workout, because you can't,
Sure.
One workout gets you excited, but to really have that mental shift, you gotta stick with it, And so having people come in and, I say, give me a month. Because once they're here for a month, they don't leave.
They're yours.
Pretty
You
much.
got them. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. One of the things I see in the business model and in the methodology I have is that people stick around. Most of my clients are sticking around for years, and that's because they have been given the opportunity to have that mental shift.
Yep.
They see a barbell on the floor and they think, I have no idea what to do with that, and then 6 months later they're loading up that barbell like they never imagined they would, and they're handling it with so much confidence and with so much expertise that they look back and they say, look at this. I did do it.
Yeah.
and
There you
so
go.
that's the one thing. That was what created my paradigm shift, and it's what creates paradigm shifts with all my members. It's just the experience and helping them, like you said, understand the process. And you said, your daughter's 12, she doesn't understand it. But us adults, we don't either. And
No,
I say
we
this
don't.
in business too. I get stuck with the processes of business, and I have to remind myself, like, you're smack dab in the middle of the process, and the middle of the process sucks.
Yeah.
And the middle of the process is just work.
Yeah.
You plant a seed. That's awesome. That's a lot of fun when you get started, right? You're actually doing something, and then what do? You got to water it.
Yeah.
Every day, and
for
watering
years.
it for years, and it looks the same. And you think nothing is happening underneath that ground. What is going on? I must be doing it wrong. I must not be watering enough.
I must give up.
Maybe I should just give up. And then out of the blue, seemingly out of the blue, a little leaf comes out,
Something
right?
sprouts,
And it's the same thing with business, and it's the same thing with training. It's the same thing with weight loss and health and all of the things that makes us human, and it makes life interesting.
Yeah. What do they say that like bamboo grows for 7 or 10 years or something underground? So you have to water the same spot every day for years, almost a decade, I think, if I might be mistaken. But and then something sprouts, and then bamboo grows like crazy when it finally comes up.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of times it can be the same. It can be the same with fitness, or say for the pull up, right? You're working, you're doing negatives, you're doing bands, you're doing bent over rows, you're doing everything you can think of, right? And every week you're trying, you still can't get it. You're like, you're not going to get it. And then one day all of a sudden it just happens, right? And it's not because it just happened, right? It was all that work you put in.
Right.
But it's really hard to think that doing something that's not a pull-up is really going to make the difference.
Exactly.
And it really does. It's crazy.
And that's where building trust with people is really important, because they keep coming back, not because they see the results immediately, but because they trust you. They trust, they may see a little bit of, okay, I'm sore today. That must mean that what I'm doing is working. Of course, those little things are very important to keep us motivated. But when you build that trust with people, they keep coming back. And then before you know it, they look back and they see someone starting out, and all of a sudden it hits them like, oh, wow, I was that person.
I've come so
far.
Look
at me now.
Yeah.
And I love that bamboo analogy, because that's exactly how it happens, right? It's like you see nothing, and all of a sudden, whew.
Yeah, but you still got to water it every day, or nothing.
Do?
It wouldn't happen. So
well, that's because there's always the next level.
Right. So why do you think people in your industry either close up or fail, or whatever you want to put the word on it, right? You can call it anything. A lot of people like to be the martyr and say, well, it's not my fault. I just didn't have enough clients. It's not my fault. X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
A competitor moved next door to me. Some things, obviously, civic locations, leases, force you out into a different spot. But barring all of the exceptions, like, why do you think people fail at doing a micro gym like you've done?
Yeah, that is I think there are a myriad of factors. I think the main thing is that it's hard. It's really hard to grow a business. It's really hard to create something different, to differentiate yourself. And I think the main reason is what we were just talking about, is the watering it every day. I think that many people close because they don't give it time to grow. And then there may be some people who close because they don't, they fail to see where the market is going. I think it's a fine balance between staying authentic and true to what you know. And I'm a stickler for form. I'm a fan of the classics, right? I love squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, and push-ups, and all their variations. Like, I don't need to be balancing on one leg on a Bosu ball to get, I don't need to get fancy. I don't need to have fancy lights. I'm a big fan of the classics. At the same time, if I don't understand that that's where culture's going, that's where the market's going, that's where I need to be able to balance those two. And I think a big factor that small studios change is that they close, that they refuse to change. They're afraid to cop out. They're afraid to really let go of the things they know and be vulnerable with things they don't know, and take the risks and invest the capital maybe on looking out and being like, wait, why is something like Orangetheory? Why is Orangetheory blowing up so much? And instead of like just looking at all the ways that the things you don't like about it, look at what's working and saying, how could I bring that into my business, and how can I shift without losing my essence? And that's hard. I mean,
it is. Everyone who knows Orangetheory or has ever signed up knows that you're on their list, and they're persistent for days, if not weeks, to get you to come in. They're really good at lead nurturing and following up. They've got all that down to a science, right? Obviously, it's a franchise model, so it's kind of cookie cutter in that sense. But yeah, I would say I agree for sure. And I think some business owners, private gyms, right, they want to have that personal connection, which is what you want.
Yes.
But they're afraid to also realize that at the end of the day, they're selling a product, and they have to sell it 7 times before someone will say yes. The same person, right? Billboard, whatever you call it. They have to come in contact with your brand so many times before they'll get the yes. And I think a lot of private business owners will stop at maybe once or twice attempts, or maybe not even one attempt afterwards. If someone said no, they'd be like, okay, see you later. Like, they're not... They're coaches at the end of the day. They got in this because they wanted to coach, not necessarily because they wanted to sell. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. So I think that's a big factor, is like understanding that. And again, it's all about finding that delicate balance between connecting with people. Like I'm a hugger. I hug people my members. I know their kids' names. I'm involved with my members. But at the same time, I want Rio Fitness to be more than just, a handful of members that I really enjoy being around. I want to reach more people. So realistically, how could I do that? You got to have some business strategies in place. And so finding that balance, I think, is really tough. And I think sometimes people may close because they either don't see that or they're not willing to take it to that next step, which is totally fine. It's
Sure.
But
it's their business at the end of the day, right? Yeah. Awesome. So what gets you excited about coming in here and turn on the lights every day? Now that you've been open, you've been around for a while, like at the end of the day, it can be a job, right?
Oh, yes.
Especially with all the stuff around the class times. But what gets you really excited to come and flip the lights on, turn the music up, and tell people, like, let's get that first pull up?
Yeah. So, first of all, the people, right?
Sure.
Just coming in here, I always say my 6 a.m.ers, they make it almost fun waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Almost, yeah.
Because I'm not going to lie. When I wake up groggy. I drive over here kind of groggy. I get here, turn on the lights.
Your eyes are open while you're driving, right?
Most of the times. And, it's my job. So I'm thinking, I'm getting out of my bed to go to work. But as soon as I see people coming in and we start that conversation and we start talking about things that sometimes are fitness related, sometimes are not, that's what makes me think I really have a great job. I have a fantastic job. But the one thing that really drives me, because, it's day to day. So I'm teaching the same class several times a day. I'm seeing essentially the same members all week. Thankfully, I work out with really awesome people, people I really enjoy being around. But what really gets me excited is thinking of what's coming next. Thinking this started in my dad's garage and I'm here. And, this is a really cool space, but it's not the end all be all. There's still a whole lot more to come. So what gets me really excited is just like, okay, what's that next vision? What's that next step? And when is that going to come? And just making sure that I'm going to be ready to take the leap and to take the next steps, make the next decision. That's what really drives me, and to say, okay, let's go. One more Monday, one more Tuesday, one more Wednesday.
So what is the next step?
That's a fantastic question. The next step is to everything that we just talked about, like finding that balance of being authentic, sticking with what I believe to be true about fitness, about connecting with people, about serving people, and finding that that pull, that drive of the business model that will help me see more people, serve more people, grow, become more attractive to outsiders, to people who outsiders. I mean, people who don't know the business, right? Mm-hmm. So that is what I'm thinking about next: is how can I make what I have more systematic in a way? How can I scale what I have now? And that's where I'm headed to.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I can't wait to watch everything grow here and stuff.
Me too.
It's exciting.
Thank
you. That sprout is happening. You're just waiting for that full tree or bamboo to come up. It's really exciting to see.
And it's a balance between being deliberate and pursuing the next vision, and then waiting for it to come and in no way sort of find you. That's right. That's how it happened when I first opened the biz. It was literally like, I feel like I woke up and I had this thought and I was like, why not? And so, I'm putting in the work.
That's awesome. Do you have any advice for anyone who maybe wants to open, or they're already open, or maybe they're in the garage, they got a few clients, any step of the journey you've already kind of gone through? Would you have any advice for them who see you as like a success and somewhat of a role model of starting in the garage and growing as needed, and just being happy to come into work every day?
Yeah. Yes, I do. My advice is, don't think you're special. I wish somebody had told me that at the beginning.
I'm not special? What?
Because I had this, and I'll come back to this, but I had this idea of like, no, I will do it differently. That won't happen to me. No. That's because they see it wrong. You don't know until you walk in someone's shoes. So don't think you're special. Don't think just because you have this great vision that people are going to come. I thought if I build it, they will come. They didn't. They really did.
Yeah.
My first year in business,
so
Joe,
true.
was rough. It was really rough. Now we're, back up into the right. But I had a shock. Don't think that just because you have this burning desire that other people are going to automatically see that. At the same time, don't let that scare you. The fact that it's going to be hard. It's hard work. But don't let that diminish the desire and the passion and the vision that you have, because the world needs it. So it's those are my two advices. Like, you're not special, all right? There's tons of people doing exactly the same thing. At the same time, there's only you doing what you're doing in your corner of the world. So don't quit. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And just like getting that first pull-up, when you feel like, I have no upper body strength, I cannot do this, I'll never do this, that's a big fat lie. In business, as a business owner, I've felt that and I've thought that many times. Who am I? What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the connections. I don't have the capital. I don't have the know-how, whatever. Many times those thoughts made me want to just crawl underneath the covers and just stay there all day. But just knowing that, just like everything else, it's a process, and you gotta go through the hard stuff. You gotta work to learn, right? No one's born ready. No one's born knowing everything. So that's my advice. Know that you're not special, but you are.
Well said. Well said. That's awesome. So, other than being a gym owner and an awesome fitness trainer, what other profession would you attempt if you could be king for a day and pick a profession?
That is so hard, because there's so many things that I really like to do.
You can't just say, I'll be exactly what I am, right?
Yeah. Right.
Or maybe something you wanted to try. Maybe not necessarily be, but try.
I'll go back to like when I first started college. I wanted to be a forensic psychologist. I wanted to be a behavior analyst for the FBI.
Oh.
So if I had to choose another career, I would, and it had a do-over, I would probably like go back and, try that one out, because I love a good police drama. I love a good serial killer story.
Do you practice on your clients with any behavioral analysis while they're working out?
Profiles? Oh, yes.
You seem like the serial killer type.
Maybe not that much, but you seem like the type who's going to need me to text you a couple of times before you get
there you go. Yeah, the soft skills, right?
No, but yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
It depends on who you ask.
How would you say, like...
I don't know. I think I'm pretty awkward.
Really?
I think I'm pretty awkward. I wish I wasn't, but I think I'm pretty awkward.
Do you have any thing that backs that up? Any stories or funny things? Or if not, that's okay.
I can't think of a funny. I just feel like an awkward person in general. It's I say I'm a closet introvert, because I love talking to people. I'm comfortable with a mic. I lead classes. I'm fine. I legitimately like public speaking, but I am such an introvert. I need to be by myself to recharge. Social events drain me.
Yep.
As much as I need to be social, there's a limit. And my friends will know this. They're like, we'll be out at a party. All of a sudden be like, okay, bye guys. And I'm out.
Yeah. I identify with that a little bit. Yeah. It is draining. And maybe it's because you bring so much to the party, right?
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
Yeah. No, that's fine. So, so if people wanted to learn more about you or hit you up, chat you, do you have a local coffee shop you're always at a certain time of the day? Obviously, you're here at Rio.
Rio Fitness and Lifestyle Training, 8115 Staples Mill Road.
Oh, there you go.
No. The best way to connect with me would be through Instagram or through text. Actually, if you go on my website, you can find my phone number, and texting, email is the best way to connect. I always, receive email and text all day. Instagram, I'm trying to be more active on. I have my seasons where I'm like posting all the time. I'm very connected. But I find that the more I post, the more I spend time looking and,
Yeah.
and engaging too much.
Yep.
So Instagram is also a great way for you to kind of see the gym, see images. Every image that I post up is always about, something that's going on in the gym at the moment. I try to keep it as authentic as possible. So that's a really great way to connect. So Instagram and the website.
What's the website?
It's www.riofitnessrva.com.
All right. So riofitnessrva.com.
Yes.
And that's where you'll find Ana and all the things that's going on, as well as her Instagram, which I'm assuming the handle is just at Rio Fitness.
Riofitness.rva.
All right. So we'll find you, and hopefully everyone will link up with you that have any questions or just want to talk about how weird you are.
Awkward. And I like serial killer stories.
Yeah,
I know.
if they just want to get an analysis done and find out if there's a serial killer, we know where to find you if they want to come in and get fit in the process, right?
I'm better at that, okay?
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was a
Joe.
pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the RVA Affiliate Collective podcast. This is Joe Ellis. Be sure to follow us on iTunes and give us a subscribe. Also check us out on YouTube under the same name, RVA Affiliate Collective. And don't forget our shop, rvaaffiliatecollective.org. Thank you. Have a good one.